Learning perspective and how vanishing points works, of course great, but they are almost never on the page, except maybe in one point perspective or in some very specific distorted examples. So drawing perspective grid seems quite difficult. Well, not so much with the following techniques. In digital is especially easy. For example, in Photoshop, I can just use the polygon tool, but first I mark the position of those points outside the canvas, using guides. Then I choose the polygon tool. If you cannot find it, it might be under another icon from this list. Make sure you switch to the shape mode, not path. In the settings, drop the star ratio to 1% and draw the star. Oops, I forgot to tick the from center option. It allows draw star directly from the point. Easy, but too messy for me. I cannot understand what are happening here. A better way to use the same vanishing point is not these death stars. I figured out for myself that it is easier to use the pen tool with a direct selection tool. Just mark with guys where your points should be and draw a perspective guide from each position using the pen tool. Label each layer with the perspective guide and group them. Now, when you need a new guide, just copy the layer and use the direct selection tool to move the endpoint. Be careful here, because sometimes you accidentally move the entire path and screw up the perspective guide. It shifts from the original vanishing point. To avoid this, when you just selected the layer, click in the middle of nowhere and then select specifically this point. Move it wherever you need a new guide. It is cleaner and less distracted method for me, especially if you don't copy but just read some of the guides. Of course there are some plugins like Lazy Nezumi, but I already pay too much for the software. And the guide in drawing perspective grid, Clip Studio. It does almost everything for you. Not only you can build a full perspective setup in just a few clicks, like layer, ruler frame, create perspective ruler, and choose a setup. And done. Here are your perspective points, which you can tweak as you need. But also, you can draw straight lines following the perspective grid automatically. And you can literally turn on and off the perspective grid for each side, or for all of them. Really useful stuff here, especially for comic creators. So how do you find vanishing points outside a page on paper? Sure, you can use digital methods and print the grid, more on that later. But now I'll show you several other simple techniques. The first one is to use adhesive tape with the point drawn on it, plus a long ruler. Pros: clean working space and easy to use. Cons: you don't have an infinite ruler and the vanishing point may be really far away. The second option is to use pushpins and thread. This method is basically similar to using the pen tool in digital. You stick a pushpin with a thread somewhere on the desktop and use the thread as your guideline. Pros: simplifies the work a lot and makes it more efficient. Cons: you probably don't want holes in your table, do you? And the table is not so big, so you cannot place very far away points on it. So what you should do instead is use the Brewer method. I'll do it in digital because I have no good lighting. Let's check the basics with something simple first. Imagine you have a case when your vanishing point is off the page even in one point perspective. Keep in mind that horizontal and vertical lines have no perspective shortening in this setup. They stay truly horizontal and vertical, so you can split them easily into equal parts with a ruler or even eyeballing. What you should do is split these two edges, and then lines drawn through these marks will follow the perspective and serve as your perspective grid. Just use them as a reference. Now in two-point perspective this is almost the same. The first side of the grid you can draw without any measurements. Just make sure the guides are converging. The problem starts when you draw the second side. You can easily draw the first guide, but if you draw the second one just eyeballing it, the points won't sit on the same horizon, and the perspective will be screwed. To avoid this, draw two truly horizontal lines from the first side, and draw the vertical from the intersection with the first guide. Where that vertical crosses the top horizontal will be your second perspective guide. Then just split the three verticals into equal parts, and drawing guides through those marks will give you the two-point perspective grid. Finding all three vanishing points in a three-point perspective when all of them are off the page is a bit trickier. I use this method. It is almost the same as for two-point perspective, but first I draw a small triangle. Choose any point inside it on a vertical line from the bottom corner, and raise from this point through the corners. Show the direction of the vanishing points. To build a grid, first draw the base side as usual. For the second vanishing point, do the same steps as for 2-point perspective. Drop verticals, draw the horizontal, and you go to the second guide. Now we have 2 bases, and you can safely use these verticals to build the grid. Split them into equal parts and draw guides through the marks. To find the third direction is exactly what is trickier in this method. If we build the grid in the same bird's eye view, but as a vertical 2-point perspective, we can get the grid easily. When we rotate it, the edges get foreshortening, but the guides still point toward the third vanishing point. So use the diagonal, which appears horizontal here, and draw a parallel one from the bottom corner. Now I can split them and get the correct perspective grid. Pros of this method: you can find almost any vanishing point, no matter how far it is. Cons: it is not as fast and efficient as the tape or thread method. You'll end up with more constructive lines on the paper, and you cannot draw a perfect cube for accurate measuring. If you need for some reason a perfect square or cube in space, you can draw a small perfect sketch. Measure proportions with the ruler, multiply to scale up and transfer it on paper. To split the sides equally, you can use the measuring method from the previous video. Another fast way: use one of the digital methods I showed you in the first half of the video. Print this grid on a separate paper, place it under your drawn paper on a glass table or glass sheet, and fix everything with tape. Yes, you cannot see it right now. That's why we use glass. Turn on your desk lamp and place it under the table. Magic! You can see everything. And now the forbidden word. Trace. Yeah, just trace it. But only the grid, so you'll be fine. Hi guys, if you find my videos helpful, please support me on my Patreon or with crypto. It really helps me to free time and make more videos for you. You can find my first t-shirt and mug design on my site.